What is up, Prealgebra students? This is lesson 38. Our objective is how do we use properties of equality to solve equations? And really, the whole idea of this lesson is based around what does this little symbol right here mean? This little symbol is the equal symbol. It means that what's on the left is the same as what's on the right. It means that they are equal, they're equivalent, they're the same. So, if you want to think of it as like a balance, if this is the same as this, you could add something to both sides. You could take something away from both sides. You could multiply, like double both sides, or like cut both of them in half, and they'd still be equal to each other as long as you do the same thing to both sides. And we call these operations properties of equality. Properties of equality. So, like if A is equal to B, then you can add C to both sides and it'll still be the same. Kind of like if 5 is equal to 5, you could say 5 plus 4 is equal to 5 plus 4. It's both come out to be 9. You could subtract. You could subtract C from both sides and still come out to be the same. Like 5 is equal to 5, you could say 5 minus 4 is equal to 5 minus 4. 1 is equal to 1. Still come out to be equivalent statements. Multiplication. You could multiply both sides. Kind of like 3 times 5 would still be 3 times 5, so 15 would still equal 15. You could also divide, like if you took 5 and cut it in half, divide it by 2. If you did the same thing to both sides, you end up with 2.5 is equal to 2.5. So these are what we call properties of equality. We call this one the addition property of equality, the subtraction property of equality, the multiplication property of equality, and the division property of equality. And then one more property of equality is just that if you have A is equal to B, then you can say B is equal to A. It's just rewriting its order. And we call that the symmetric property of equality. So let's see if we can use these properties of equalities to go about solving equations. So our instructions here are to solve each equation and justify each step. So we need to say why we're doing what we just did. So this one, I'm just going to write given, because that equation was given to us. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say x plus 1/2 is equal to 3/4. Notice I left some space there between the 1/2 and the equal sign. Because what I want to do is I want to do the opposite operation. What's the opposite of adding a half? Well, subtracting a half. So I'm going to subtract 1/2. But if I subtract 1/2 from one side, then I also need to do the same thing to the other. So I'm going to say subtraction property of equality. Notice I abbreviated those a little bit, and that's just fine if you do the same. So then the next thing I would do then, 1/2 minus 1/2 is 0, so I end up with x is equal to 3/4 minus 1/2. Maybe if we want to do a thought bubble over here, 3/4 minus 1/2. Multiply that by 2 over 2. That's going to be 3/4 minus 2/4. So that's just going to come out to be 1/4. And here I just say simplify. Okay? And that's my answer. X is equal to 1/4. And then, of course, this part is what they said here about justify each step. Okay? So let's try another one here. Part B says x minus 1.3 is equal to 4.2. So I'm just going to say that is my given equation. So then I'm going to say x minus 1.3 is equal to 4.2. And I've noticed I purposely left some space there. Because what's the opposite of subtracting 1.3? Well, adding 1.3. Because really I'm just trying to get this part right here to equal 0. Because x plus 0 is just x. So this is going to simplify down to x. Oh, and I'm forgetting here, I need to add 1.3 to both sides. And that's the addition property of equality. So that means x is going to equal to 5.5. And again, I'm just going to say simplify. Alright, let's try a couple more there. We're in the multiplication or the division property of equality. Notice I'm still trying to get this x by itself, and this x is being, this time, divided by 4. The previous ones, something was being added to it or subtracted from it. This time it's being divided, it's being cut into 4 pieces. But I don't want to know what 1/4 of x is equal to. I want to know what x is equal to. So what is the opposite of dividing? Well, the opposite of dividing is multiplying. So this one is just given. The next step is going to say 1.2. I want to multiply by something. X over 4, I want to multiply by something. Well, the opposite of dividing by 4 is going to be to multiply by 4. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 4, so I'm going to say this is the multiplication property of equality. Alright, then whenever I multiply by 4, this is like 4 over 1, those 4's reduce, and I just end up with an x. Left-hand side, I'm going to end up with 4.8. I'm just going to say simplify. And then, it's just kind of proper to write here, x is equal to 4.8. And what do we call that? That's right, the symmetric property of equality. So this is my answer here. X is equal to 4.8. And then right there, of course, are those justifications. Alright. Now, this one, we're going to try to get that x by itself. So right now, this x is being multiplied by 3/5. So this is just given. So what is the opposite of multiplying? Well, to divide. So I'm going to divide that by 3/5. So over here I'm going to have 1/4 divided by 3/5. And this is the division property of equality. Okay, now remember, whenever we have fractions, we can flip the second one and then multiply it. So I'm just going to say this is 3/5 x multiplied by 5/3, which equal to 1/4 multiplied by 5/3. I'm just again going to say simplify. And then this 5 will reduce with that 5, this 3 will reduce with that 3. So it's going to be x is equal to 1 times 5 is 5, 4 times 3 is 12. So I'm going to say simplify. So my answer is x is equal to 5/12. Now, not all division properties of equality are that kind of crazy here. Let me do one more real quick. 3x is equal to 15. So I'm going to say this is given. Okay, so now I'm going to say 3x divided by 3 is equal to 15 divided by 3. And this is the division property of equality again. And then this 3 divided by 3 changes into a 1, giving me x. And 15 divided by 3 is 5. So I'm going to say simplify. And there's another example of a division property. So it's kind of a couple different ways to use that division property of equality. Your homework is on page 254. You're going to do the practice set. You're going to do all the 38s, all the 37s, and then 7 more of your choice. I know you're going to do a great job. Good luck.